dear students. Myself Divya, lecturer in biology, Shakthi PU College, Shakthi Nagara, Mangalore. In today's session, I will be discussing a topic that is living world of the first year PUC biology syllabus. Now, biology itself is a very interesting topic. I'm sure all of you students have taken biology by very good interest. So, once we go into the deeper topics, it's very important to first of all understand a very basic topic, that is living world. So, in today's session, I will be discussing the main topics or the main contents coming under living world. If you carefully observe this video, I will be giving a glimpse of all the important 5-mark questions, 3-mark questions, 2-mark questions and very important 1-mark questions, which are very important to score out in biology. So, watch the video very carefully and note down the important questions and important points. So, living world. First of all, we have to know what is the meaning of living world. This is the world which we are living, the world which is existing from the time life was created. That is, from the time different planets were created, from several million years ago, life has been originated and life is continuing. So, it's important as a biology student or as a biology member to know what is the meaning of living world. So, in this chapter, I will be discussing various topics which will cover the NCERT syllabus as well as a detailed concept of important questions, which also is important for your competitive exams. So, let me begin. Dear students, I will be highlighting the most important topics in this chapter as well as telling you the important questions which will appear for the final examination. To begin with, first of all, I have to discuss the features of living organisms. Now, why do we call an organism to be living? It is having unique features, unique properties, which is making different from a non-living object or a non-living thing. So, what are these unique features? As I have mentioned here, one very important property is growth, followed by reproduction. Then there is a unique feature which is called metabolism, cellular organization, and we have consciousness. So, examination point of view, this question can be asked for 2 marks. The question can be asked as, list the various features of living organisms, or what are the unique features exhibited by living organisms. You just need to mention which are the features. Now I have to tell you the definitions of each of these terms and some detailed topics or concepts coming under these features. To begin with, the first important feature, that is growth. Growth is a unique feature, a unique property of living organisms. So, how can I define growth? Growth is defined as increase in size, mass or volume. That is, there is increase in number of cells which is taking place, which is resulting in a plant to grow or an animal or an organism to grow. So, how this growth is taking place? Very important. Growth is occurring by nothing but cell division. Which type of cell division? It is definitely mitosis. Mitotic division is helping in increase in number of cells. So, when the cells are increasing, obviously the organism has a tendency to grow. So, whether it is plants or whether it is animals, in all these, cell division is the main factor which is responsible for a plant to grow or an animal to grow. There are some basic differences. In plants, growth is a continuous process. That is, once a seedling comes into life, it will continuously grow till it is existing. That is, growth continuously takes place. Hence, we are calling it as unlimited. So, growth is a continuous process in case of plants. In case of animals, because they have a particular lifespan, growth is said to be limited. That is, growth will occur only up to a particular age, after which growth definitely occurs but only at particular time. Which are these time? If a cell is damaged or if a tissue is damaged, to replace it or to repair the damaged cells or tissues, growth is taking place. Again, how it is taking place? It is definitely taking place by cell division. So, in all unicellular as well as multicellular organisms, growth is occurring by cell division. So this is an important concept. It can be asked for 1 mark. Define growth is an important 1 mark question which can be asked. What is growth or define growth? One more important question can be, how does growth take place in plants as well as animals? You have to mention growth is occurring by cell division. Once we have finished discussing the first important feature, that is growth, now let us understand what is the meaning of reproduction and some basic concepts under this. So how do we define reproduction? Reproduction is a unique ability which the organisms have, because of which a new offspring or a young one is born. We are existing because of reproduction. All the organisms present on this earth are living. They are existing because of a property, a feature which is known as reproduction. So reproduction is a very unique feature restricted to only living organisms. Non-living things definitely cannot reproduce. So it is a very unique feature of living organisms. Why reproduction takes place, or what is the need of reproduction? One important need of reproduction is, because of reproduction, the generation is continuing. That is, one generation will give rise to the next generation. And because of reproduction, a number of species will not become extinct. So, it is preventing extinction of species. Prevents extinction of species. So, speaking about the need of reproduction, one important need is, or why reproduction has taken place is, generation has continuously continued from a number of years, and a number of species have not been lost or have not become extinct. Some species have become extinct. The main reason is human interference. Now, broadly, if I have to categorize 2 different types of reproduction, mainly in the entire living world, 2 main types of reproductive methods or reproductive strategies are used. One is called asexual reproduction. The other one is called sexual reproduction. Now, asexual reproduction is a very simple form of reproduction occurring in lower organisms, ones which don't have unique advanced features within the body. So, asexual reproduction is said to be uniparental. What is uni? Uni means single. So, in this type of reproduction, a single parent is enough. A single parent is involved, which will give rise to new ones or young ones of its own kind. Now, because it is uniparental, whatever organisms or whatever offsprings are born or are created, all are said to be similar to each other. So, in case of asexual reproduction, the young ones born are called clones. What are clones? Morphologically and genetically similar individuals are called clones. So, this is something unique and restricted only to asexual reproduction. Now, if I need to differentiate, in sexual reproduction, there is definitely involvement of 2 parents. Bi means 2. 2 parents are involved. One is the male parent, the other one is the female parent. Both these parents separately will produce something known as gametes. Gametes are produced. Male gamete and female gametes are produced. And at the time of fertilization, the gametes will fuse. After fusion, there is something formed which is known as zygote. This will later develop into embryo, after which a young one is created or born. So this is a very unique feature of sexual reproduction seen in higher organisms and some lower organisms. So important differences: uniparental is asexual, biparental is sexual. Then gametes are not produced in asexual reproduction. Gametes are definitely produced in sexual reproduction. As I said, all the organisms or all the young ones which are produced are exact copies of the parent, and they are similar to each other, and they are called clones. So there is no difference at all. So they are not contributing to evolution. What is evolution? A very slow and gradual change which has resulted in giving rise to new species. A new species different from old species is because of evolution. Some theories support this concept. If evolution has to take place, differences in organisms must be there. Differences are called variations. Variations are missing in asexual reproduction. It is present in sexual reproduction. So when I compare the two, the one which is responsible for evolution is definitely sexual reproduction. So these are two basic differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. Now, examination point of view, a simple question can be asked, what is reproduction, or define reproduction for 1 mark. One more important 2-mark question is, name the different types of reproductive methods used by organisms. Okay, once I have told what is the meaning of reproduction, the 2 important types of reproduction, let us go one step ahead. That is, different organisms reproduce by different ways or different methods. So under asexual reproduction, organisms can choose any one of the following reproductive strategies. As I have listed on the screen, one method organisms can use is called budding, fragmentation, spore formation and fission. So whatever is mentioned on the screen, examination point of view, it's very, very important. Among these, questions can be framed which can be asked for 1 mark or 2 marks, or it also can be asked for 3 marks. So all these methods along with the meaning, along with the examples, can be collectively asked for 3 marks. Each one with the meaning or the example can be asked for 1 or 2 marks. So this is one of the important topics which you definitely need to concentrate on and you need to practice. So whatever is given here, one of the reproductive method used is budding. Budding is a process in which, for example, if I consider this as yeast is a cell, it can be unicellular. So this is, I am considering as a single cell. So during the process of budding, a tiny outgrowth will appear which is known as a bud. It is formed from the parental cell. So this is a parental cell which is the original cell. An outgrowth called bud arises. Later, once it is fully formed, it will detach and it will grow into a new organism. Because there is formation of something known as bud, the process is named as budding. It's commonly seen in hydra and yeast. Examples are also very important. Fragmentation is a process in which, if this is one organism, the body will be divided into a number of fragments. So whatever fragments are formed, they have the ability to give rise to a new individual because of regeneration. It is commonly seen in a flatworm by name planaria. There is a very common reproductive method used by fungi, and that is by producing spores. Numerous spores are released into air which will have the ability of giving rise to a new fungus or a new fungi. Some of the organisms reproduce by a reproductive strategy known as fission. Now fission is somewhat similar to fragmentation with minor differences. In fission, the organism can get divided into 2 units or it can be divided into many units. So depending on this, fission is either binary or multiple. Amoeba mainly reproduces by fission. More commonly it is binary. Sometimes it can also be multiple fission. So under reproduction, this is a very important concept for your exam. As I told you, 3 mark, 2 mark or 1 mark questions can be asked. So we have finished discussing the first 2 important features. First one, as I told, is growth. Second one is reproduction. Next very important property is metabolism. It is also related to chemistry. How? Now human body or any life form within itself has a number of cells, has a number of tissues. What is there inside the cell, or what is the entire body made up of? It is made up of nothing but a number of chemicals, a number of molecules. Because it is present in a living organism, we are calling it as a biomolecule. So what happens to these biomolecules within the body of organism? It keeps on changing. One form will give rise to another form. There are a number of reactions which take place. So whatever reactions are taking place within the body of organisms, it is termed as metabolism. So how can I define metabolism, students? Metabolism is defined as sum total of, or total number of, all the chemical reactions. Another term for chemical reactions we can give in biology is metabolic reactions. So total number of all the chemical reactions occurring within the body of organisms is called metabolism. So this is a very, very important, almost a sure question which can be asked for 1 mark. Most of the question papers you can find this question define metabolism or what is metabolism. So please be thorough with the definition of metabolism. Just going one step ahead, you have to know basic difference between two types of metabolic reactions. One is called catabolism or catabolic reactions. The other one is called anabolism or anabolic reactions. In a simple way, with simple example, I will explain. Catabolism, what happens in a catabolic reaction is breakdown of molecules. A larger molecule is breaking down into a simpler molecule, whereas the opposite happens in anabolic reactions. There is union of molecules. If I have to justify what I have said, if I take a very simple example, lipids. Lipids are nothing but fats which occur in various forms. Lipid is a macromolecule, a very large biomolecule, a very large molecule. Now lipids can be broken down into smaller units which are fatty acids and glycerol. So in this type of chemical reaction, what is basically happening is lipid is a large molecule. It is broken down into smaller compounds which are fatty acids and glycerol. So this can be a very simple example for catabolic reactions. A large molecule is breaking down into smaller molecules. So what happens in anabolic? As I said, it is the opposite. In anabolic reactions, I will consider the same example. Smaller compounds can unite, it can join to give rise to a larger molecule. So fatty acids can combine with glycerol to give rise to lipids. So this one is justifying catabolic reaction. This one is justifying anabolic reactions. This will not be asked for the board exams, but for the competitive, you definitely have to know what is the meaning of catabolic reaction and what is the meaning of anabolic reactions. So all these concepts come under a unique feature which is called metabolism. Okay students, I'm sure you're definitely watching the video. You're curious to know which are the other topics in this chapter and what type of questions can be asked for the exam. Next important property is something known as cellular organization. So definitely it has to do something with cells. Cells which are organized. Where are they organized? Now, cellular organization means inside a cell, if this is a plant cell, just let me consider a cell. Inside the cell, there is a nucleus, there can be mitochondria, there can be Golgi complex, and a number of other vacuoles or vesicles. All these are basically called cell organelles. So, whatever components are there within a cell, all the components present within a cell, the cell organelles or other contents present in the cytoplasm, and how these components are arranged and what is the function of every component. What is the function of nucleus? It is controlling the functions of a cell. What is the function of Golgi complex? What is the function of mitochondria? Or what is the function of endoplasmic reticulum? All these come under a concept known as cellular organization. As I have mentioned, components within a cell, how they are organized and how the cellular components function. All these come under a concept known as cellular organization. Here, examination point of view, you can expect what do you mean by cellular organization for 1 mark. That is about cellular organization. Next and last important property is consciousness. What is consciousness, students? Because of consciousness, I am able to tell what I need to deliver. Because of consciousness, you are watching the video and you are aware that you need to continue and try to finish looking at this video. Just like this, every organism present on this earth knows or is aware of what it is doing or what is its role in the environment. So this unique feature a living organism has is known as consciousness. So how can I define consciousness? Consciousness is ability of every living organism, ability of the organism to be aware of its surroundings, to be aware of where it is living. This feature is known as consciousness. Examination point of view, it's a very important question. You can expect a question as, what is consciousness? Or what do you mean by consciousness for 1 mark? Now, what type of consciousness plants have? You might think how plants can have consciousness. Yes, they definitely can have consciousness in terms of what response they are giving to different factors. What type of response? Response to a particular stimulus, isn't it? So plants are giving a good response to sunlight. If there is very good sunlight, optimum amount of sunlight, because of which they are able to carry out a process known as photosynthesis, isn't it? So plants are definitely responding to a factor known as sunlight. So it is conscious, it is aware of what it is doing or what functions it is carrying out. Photosynthesis, everyone knows, I'm sure. It is a process by which plants are synthesizing food materials. Plants are also showing response to temperature. Changes in temperature, growth of plants definitely will change. Plants are showing response to light, which is influencing a process known as flowering. Plants are showing response to changes in climatic conditions. Plants show response to rainfall. So what I am trying to say is, plants are also aware of its surroundings or where it is living in the ecosystem. So plants are definitely exhibiting consciousness. What about animals, including us? Even we are aware of what we are doing. That ability what we have is called consciousness. All living organisms have a unique property or a unique feature which is called consciousness. So does every living organism have consciousness? Yes, they definitely have, plants as well as animals, except for a person who is suffering from coma. In coma, person is declared or is said to be brain dead. So except a person who is in coma, every living organism has a very unique property known as consciousness. So I believe and I'm very sure you've understood the features what I discussed till now. That is, first one what I discussed was growth, followed by reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization and consciousness. Now, as you can see on the screen, the ones which I just discussed, different features, among these features, we can call two important features as the most important defining features of living organisms. That is, it is definitely differentiating living organisms from non-living. Hence, we are using the term defining features of living organisms. So, for the exam, you can definitely expect an important 2-mark questions which are the most important defining features of living organisms. You have to mention it as cellular organization and consciousness. Other features are also seen in living organisms, but these two features are very unique to living organisms. Hence, they are said to be the most important defining features of living organisms. So this was the first part of the chapter Living World, that is features of living organisms. This chapter also has a number of other various important topics plus a number of important questions which can be asked from this chapter. So let us discuss the next concept. Important terminologies which I have highlighted. Each one is very important for the exam for 1 mark each. First one, as you can see on the screen, biodiversity. Bio means life. Diversity means variations or varieties. So whatever varieties of plants what we see, a number of species of plants, what variations we see in animals. We have different varieties of animals existing on this earth worldwide in different places. So all these variations what we see in different ecosystems, in different habitats is called biodiversity. So how can we define biodiversity? Total varieties of plants and animals existing on the earth is called biodiversity. So as I said, this can be asked for 1 mark. Define biodiversity. Next important terminology which you have to know is nomenclature. Nomenclature is a simple system of naming an organism. A name is given to every organism so that the study of that organism or study of that plant becomes easy. This system of naming is called nomenclature. This is also important for 1 mark. Define nomenclature. Little more ahead with the same concept, binomial nomenclature. Now this is a very important system of naming which was introduced by a famous biologist, that is Carolus Linnaeus. He is getting the credit of introducing a system of naming which is called binomial nomenclature. This is very important for 1 mark. Students, please make a note. Who introduced binomial nomenclature? And you definitely need to know what is binomial nomenclature. Now bi means two. Nomial refers to names. So every living organism is given a name having two components. System of providing a scientific name, not just name, we have to give it a biological name or a scientific name, and this scientific name has two components. Hence, the system of naming is called binomial nomenclature. Simple example, our own scientific name is Homo sapiens. So this is a scientific name of human beings, or what scientific name has been given to us. As you can see, this is a scientific name. And in the scientific name, there are two components, first one and second one. So this system of naming is called binomial nomenclature. Now, examination point of view, a very important 5-mark question which can be asked is universal rules of binomial nomenclature. So whatever naming is given, whatever name is given to a plant or an animal, the same system should be followed throughout the world. Hence it is called universal rules of binomial nomenclature. Let us discuss the various rules. So whatever names are given to any plant or any animal, all the names are derived from Latin. So all the scientific names have a Latin origin. So this is one of the rules. Second important simple rule is, as I said, every scientific name has two components. If I have to take example of scientific name of mango, I'm sure you know, scientific name of mango is Mangifera indica. So every scientific name has two components. This is the second rule. In these two components, you have to know what each one means. The first one is specifying the genus to which mango belongs, and the second one is specifying the species to which the plant is belonging. So in every scientific name, we have a genus name which is also called the generic name, and we have a species name which is also called specific epithet. So this is the second rule which we have to keep in mind whenever we name a particular organism. Third important rule, as you can see here, when the scientific name is written, we have to underline the scientific name for sure. Otherwise, it doesn't have a particular significance. And how we underline? We are underlining the scientific name separately. We should not continuously give an underline. It has to be separately underlined. So third important rule is scientific name has to be underlined if you are writing it, and when printing, scientific name has to be in italics. It has to be italicized. This is third important rule or another rule. One more important rule is, as you can see here, the first letter of the scientific name is always written in capital letter followed by running letters, and the entire species name is written in small letter, or it starts with small letter. So this is another important rule. The first letter starts with capital letter, that is first letter of the genus, and the entire species name is written in small letters. This is another rule. One more rule which we can add on is, if the name of the author or the person who has described the species first is known, his name can be written in short after writing the scientific name. So this particular species or name of the scientific name of mango was introduced or was given by Carolus Linnaeus. That is the one who introduced binomial nomenclature. So in short, we can write as Linn, L-I-N-N. Linn is definitely signifying whom? Carolus Linnaeus. So I'm sure you've understood. These rules are very simple but very important that you need to remember it, because the entire concept can be asked for 5 marks. So in this chapter, you can expect this to be an important 5-mark question. However, the same concept can also be asked for lesser marks. It can be asked for 3 marks. Also, it can be asked for 2 marks. So depending on the marks, you need to specify the number of rules. 5 marks, you definitely have to mention 5 important points if it is there. So this is one of the most important highlighting topic in this particular chapter. Let us go on for the next. So before I move on, these two are very important for the exam. Abbreviations, ICZN and ICBN. These two usually appear in the exam, each for 1 mark each. How the question is asked? Expand ICBN or expand ICZN. And what is the importance of this? Whenever a scientific name is given, principles are according to these two. That is International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. International Code for Zoological Nomenclature, whenever the scientific name is given to a animal, and International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, whenever scientific name is given for plants. So students, please see that you know the full forms of these two abbreviations, ICZN and ICBN. Very, very important for the exam. I'm sure you have made a note of what I said. Next two terminology is equally important for the exam, for 1 mark each one. You have to know what is taxonomy and you have to know what is systematics. What is taxonomy? Taxonomy is the study which is dealing with identification of organisms. Then once we identify an organism, what we have to do? We have to give a name to the organism. So it is also dealing with naming. And once we name, we have to put them into particular groups. So that study becomes easy. So it is also dealing with classification. Just like students are divided into different batches based on different criteria, organisms also are put into different groups. So process of grouping organisms into different categories is called classification. So in taxonomy, what is a taxonomist studying? He or she is dealing with identification of organisms, giving a name to the organism, scientific name, and classification of organisms. So all these three are dealt in a branch known as taxonomy. Very important for the exam. Systematics is definitely linked to taxonomy. How? Systematics is the same, similar to taxonomy, dealing with the same identification, naming, as well as classification. Along with that, there is one more additional concept which is also discussed or also included, that is study of evolutionary relationships between organisms. Meaning of evolution already I have told, or I am sure you know, that is a gradual change which is giving rise to a new organism. So how one organism is related to another organism, how this organism is related to one more. And this process of whatever relationship one organism has with its previous generation is called evolutionary relationship. So in systematics, along with identification, naming and classification, a biologist or a taxonomist is also discussing or also studying about evolutionary relationship. I'm sure you've understood what's the difference between taxonomy and systematics. Examination point of view, very, very important for 1 mark each. Also, you can expect a question, write the difference between taxonomy and systematics. Students, in this session, I have discussed the various important topics coming under living world. Also, I have focused on the important questions which can be asked for the final examination. Initially, I started with features of living organisms. In that, I covered what is the meaning of growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization and consciousness. After which, I discussed some important terminologies. I am sure you have made note of whatever has been told, especially the important questions. In the next session, I will be continuing with the remaining half of the chapter. So see you all in the next session. Thank you everyone.